You're listening to the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast, and I'm Lou Temlett. I know you're having a good day because either you've been on the mats, considering getting on the mats, or maybe you're cross-training. I'm so happy you're here listening or watching this episode. Please don't tap out before the end. When you're introduced to a sport, start training Jiu Jitsu, I'd like to welcome Yeliz Akwei to my podcast. Hi, Yeliz.
Hello.
It's lovely to have you here on the show after meeting at a recent jiu-jitsu camp, which was the first time we'd met each other. But we just clicked, like you do when you meet a fellow individual in the sport of the same generation and the same rank, happen to be. Tell me how you started training jiu-jitsu, because the very polite you were introduced to a sport wasn't exactly how it played out.
No, it certainly wasn't. So I like to tell people firsthand, I was forced to train jiu-jitsu by my husband, tongue in cheek, however. So I actually trained Muay Thai. I joined Team Crossface in Watford for their Muay Thai class only. They do MMA, they do CSW, they do BJJ. I was only interested in the Muay Thai. So I did that for a long time. I met my husband there, who was also a teammate at the time. But then COVID happened and the gym shut. So I said to my husband at the time, well, I suppose you're going to have to hold the pads for me then, aren't you? So I can do Muay Thai. He also trained Muay Thai. He said, yeah, that's fine, but you're also going to have to do jiu-jitsu with me then. I was like, okay. So I kind of got what felt like thrown around for a couple of months. Until we got to a certain move, the Omoplata move, which is when all of a sudden my interest kind of like peaked, and I wanted to understand more about it. But then the gyms reopened and I completely left jiu-jitsu for about a year and just ran straight back to Muay Thai. A year goes past. I come to my 40th birthday and I think, what should I do? I always set myself a goal each year. And I thought, you know what? Let me go back to jiu-jitsu. Let me try jiu-jitsu again. Even just one class a week, I'll do that, carry on with my Muay Thai. And then that was the start of this jiu-jitsu life that I now lead.
I love it. And I'm very pleased that you are in the jiu-jitsu world. But it sounds like an element of collaboration and compromise during that time with your husband holding the Muay Thai pads and you starting reluctantly, maybe, this jiu-jitsu thing. So it took you a while to get kind of interested in it. But what did you think was happening at the beginning of you starting this jiu-jitsu thing?
So, I mean, at the start, when we were training at home, it was really, really confusing. I didn't love it. It was just confusing for me. I didn't understand why you move that way, my body goes that way. I didn't understand it at all. So yeah, that played a big part, I think, in me not deciding to pick it up when the gyms reopened. Just the confusing element of it. But then it kind of was a case of, well, actually, why am I so confused by this? What am I not understanding here? And that's what kind of drew me back.
I like the fact that you spent some time reflecting and questioning what it was about it you did or didn't like, or how you could learn more. But kind of moving on from being interested with the Omoplata sweep is quite an interesting thing in the first place. What was it about that felt a bit more interesting and a bit more fun?
I think you just said it, because it was fun. The Omoplata was just so much fun. It was like, oh my God, I go on my back and rolling, you go flying in that direction. This is great. That was that was the first sweep that I can remember like yesterday, where
Yeah.
we were, like upstairs. We turned one of the rooms into like a home gym, and we've got mats down and everything. And I can remember exactly where I was. I can remember the moment he showed it to me. I remember when I did it, and I remember that feeling of, oh my God, what is this? Like,
Oh,
it's
wow.
magic. Yeah.
Um, now, have you had a moment of, oh my goodness, what is this? With any other move in your jiu-jitsu career so far?
God, loads, absolutely loads, from the most basic of like sweeps.
Yeah.
So many times where my mind's just gone, oh, what's that? You know, and it's normally when someone submits you with something that you've like you didn't see coming. And you're like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
Show me. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So, Yeliz, we met at one of the jiu-jitsu camps recently, and it was such a pleasure to be able to spar with you and finding a woman, fellow woman in her 40s with as much strength, if not more. It's always an interesting
Oh,
combination because whilst we were just gently drilling a move or drilling a sequence and then kind of going into sparring, we both trusted each other enough to kind of have a really hard round, which
yeah.
doesn't always happen.
No, it's true. It's true. You're absolutely right. And I think we felt, you're right. We felt each other out a little bit to start with, didn't we? When we were like drilling together and so on. So we got past that bit, and then I think discovering that we're both similar age, I think
Yeah.
that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Um, you know, to trusting one another, and similar belt level, similar age. Um, we knew we were not going to be dangerous with it. And I think we were both just quite grateful to have found someone else, another woman in her 40s that we could roll with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
Mhm.
think, both being mothers and having
Yeah,
kids, and you've got four,
yeah,
which, uh, I think any woman that has the privilege to be a mother, it's quite a thing. But to balance all of the life and still want to learn life, being a mother, being a parent is hard enough, but what the heck are we doing in jiu-jitsu, Liz? Honestly, I
it's
mean,
true.
I'm
Like
thinking
life
about
isn't
this.
hard enough.
Let's just add another hard thing in the mix
Yeah,
of
why
life.
not?
Um, but from by the sounds of it, you don't choose things that are easy, and every kind of element or the addition in the learning and growth is something quite challenging. But it sounds like you get a lot of pride and accomplishment from doing that.
Yeah, I love difficult things. I really love the challenge. I mean, by trade, I'm a teacher. But as much as I love teaching, I love learning equally. So, I'm in the middle of doing a master's. This was like my third postgraduate course that I've done.
Wow.
The other's done whilst I had young children. I've started businesses when I've had, like, when the kids were babies. Um, just, I do really, really like a challenge. And I think jiu-jitsu just fits so many of those needs for me. You've got the challenge, you've got that physical activity, which I absolutely love, um, and then yeah, you've got that that bond and that friendship that you make as well with your team,
Yeah.
which kind of just makes it all even more interesting.
Yes. I'm looking forward to meeting you again at a camp or an open mat, Yeliz.
Yeah,
And just knowing, it's always fun when, I don't know, what I'm imagining now is that we'll just walk gently into an open mat and then suddenly start scrapping like really hard
yeah,
with each other. And everyone will just go, what the heck are they doing? They don't
yeah.
even know each other.
It's very likely. I think that's very, very likely. Yeah.
Yeah, we've set it out there. And
Hmm.
that's the kind of the fun aspect of it. And I think for both you and I, there are elements of fun that make all of the hard work and challenge just worth it.
100%. Definitely.
Tell me about some of the challenges that you've overcome, because you've just shared about studying masters, your
Hmm.
third postgraduate qualification,
Yep.
accomplishment, and being a teacher and doing lots of other things. and training jiu-jitsu and training jiu-jitsu at home and, you know, all of those other things, challenging
Yeah,
aspects of your jiu-jitsu journey. Let's go there.
I think the challenging aspect, one of the most challenging aspects of this journey, and I actually spoke to my husband about this the other day. Sometimes I worry if I'm there enough for my kids.
Yeah,
Um, so as much as I love to train and as much as I mean, the youngest daughter comes along with us all the time, you know, to the camps and seminars and things, and she's amazing and she trains herself. But sometimes I think, you know, am I forcing her along? You know, she loves staying in the hotels and she loves traveling around. And I think she gets that out of it, but still, it's always in the back of my head, kind of
yeah,
like, am I forcing her? Am I taking up her time? Would she rather be doing something else? And
yeah,
then when I'm training, sometimes when I'm about to go to training, you know, sometimes she'll actually say, "Don't go to training, don't go to the gym tonight." And there's been a few times where I will stay back with her, because it feels so bad. But
yeah.
it's hard. It's really, really tough. It's difficult. I think balancing that part out has been the hardest part.
Yeah.
Mm.
And thank you for sharing that. And I think it will echo with many other parents the challenge of being a parent and wanting to train Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. You know, whether you're a dad and you've got a newborn or a toddler, or
Mhm.
whether you're a mum kind of dealing with, you know, slightly older children, or, you know, whatever mix it is, there is a real element of, do I do this for me, or do I
Yeah,
stay behind and stay with the kids? But um,
yeah,
one of the things that I've taken away from my own journey is knowing that our own mental health has to be there at at the right level to be able to keep
yeah,
the whole family running. And if
yeah.
it's not, I mean, we all know how much jiu-jitsu gives us.
Totally. I couldn't agree more with that. And that's the kind of thing, that's the logic that keeps me going. And the feeling I have afterwards, that accomplishment, you know, that feeling you get when you achieve something on the mats, or that feeling you get when you realize you've got a goal or something to work towards.
Mm,
And it really gives you like a kick up the backside. And it gets you focused. And then, you know, you're feeling good because you're either focusing on something or you're celebrating something.
yeah.
You've had your dopamine, you've had that deep muscle sensation that, you know, got you kind of feeling really good, and you're feeling here, and then you can be present for your children and they can see you happy and they can see you kind of working hard at something, you know, as well,
Mm.
which is good for them to see too.
Yeah, I really it's kind of strikes me that the showcasing, the working hard, the resilience, the we can do hard things and we're going to overcome them and keep working through them, feels like a really wholehearted value to be role modeling for our kids.
Absolutely.
What else do you bring to your kids' lives because you train jujitsu?
Oh well, what has been really nice is the older children. They came once with me to a competition, and I wasn't sure how I would feel about it because I get ridiculously nervous. I'm sure so many other people do before competing, but I
Yeah,
get to the point where I can't even speak. It's like people will ask me questions, and I'll just be like staring at them. I can't move my mouth to answer. It was horrific. It still is horrific. And I was really worried about having them there.
yeah,
And to be honest with you, but I thought, you know, it was all the way in Brighton. So I thought, let me bring them. It was half term. You know, we'll make a long weekend of it and have some fun there. Um, and I did end up winning, but their reaction afterwards, they were so proud, so proud of me, and it literally like it melted my heart, you know, to have them be proud of me for
yeah,
doing something they could see I didn't want to do. I was so
yeah.
nervous about it. I forced myself to do it, and then I achieved something as a result of that. You know, and they still to this day talk about it, like that competition. So yeah,
Oh. That's really lovely to hear. And I think, we can bring all of our nerves and our emotions to the thing, but equally having that as an outpouring as a parent, then it's okay to be scared, to be
Yeah,
nervous, and all those things that I think, you know, winning or feeling nervous or whatever outcome or whatever you bring to the sports is there to be learnt from.
100%, 100%. And the other thing I think with my younger daughter, it's been the injuries. So she'll see me with bruises. She'll see me. I like to collect black eyes. I think I've got one now. You can see it. I regularly collect black eyes. I had a black eye at my wedding. I don't know why. Black eyes. I've had more black eyes in jiu-jitsu than I ever had in Muay Thai.
What the heck are you
But
doing to get black
I have
eyes?
no
I mean,
idea.
yeah,
I have
Liz,
no idea.
where are you?
I get
Where?
knees. I get knees in my eyes. I get elbows in my eyes. All sorts.
Okay,
But
yeah,
yeah,
Liz, I only wear glasses off the mat, but maybe you need to wear them on the mat.
I think so. I think so. So I can't keep count of how many black eyes I've had in the last 6 months, for sure. Um,
You.
so yeah, so the youngest daughter will often see me bruised and battered and with black eyes, and she'll be like, you're brave though, you're strong, you feel
Aw,
okay, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, because it's like when you get bruises, you're really brave, aren't you? And she's like, yeah, it doesn't matter, we just carry on, we carry on. So
aw,
seeing that in her, that makes me quite proud, definitely.
yeah,
Yeah,
good. I love hearing the how kind of well-rounded and balanced the next generation are kind of coming through with the
yeah,
sport of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Um,
definitely.
Now, you mentioned about going to camps and competitions in half term. And obviously, as a parent, that's the easiest time to be able to travel
Yeah,
and take the kids with us if we're competing,
yeah.
but equally if they're competing as well. Do
Mm.
you encourage your children to compete if they train?
So it's only the youngest one who trains, and she's 6. She'll be 7 in a few months. She hadn't really shown any desire to compete, so I've not suggested it. I think I'm going to
Yeah,
wait for her. I'll wait for her to say, because it's the same with jiu-jitsu. We didn't put her into it. We didn't recommend putting her into it or suggest to her you need to try it. She came along to a competition. She saw some children on the mats competing, and she went to step on the mats, and she was about 4, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Oh, it's my turn." I said, "But you don't train." And she
oh,
said, "But I want to. I want to." So it was literally from 4. She was just for her 5th birthday.
yeah,
That's when we got her starting up. Well, that's when she started training.
yeah,
And it's kind of just been going with her. It's been led by her.
yeah,
When some days, some weeks she'll say, "Oh, I don't feel like going," and she'll say, "That's fine, don't go."
yeah,
We did have a couple of kids in her class who competed, and she said how proud she was of them, which was great. She drew a little card for one of them, but she's not shown any real desire yet to want
yeah.
to do it. So I'm just going to wait, I think.
I like that philosophy, waiting for
Mm.
them to kind of instigate their desire to take part in a thing or to compete or whatever,
Yeah,
um, rather than anything else. Because
yeah,
actually, we're choosing to do the things we want to do. There's nobody
yeah,
forcing us to compete. There's nobody forcing us to show up at jujitsu training however many times a week. It's all our own
exactly,
initiative, and actually, that's a great role model for the kids to then adopt and use exactly the same philosophy for their own journey. That's good.
definitely.
So, balancing being a parent, working, studying, and jujitsu, Yeliz. I mean,
Yeah.
surely there's no time for anything else.
You know what? It is tough. Um, Normally, though, it's the jujitsu that gives. If I need to go to a family event, or a friend wants to have an evening out, or do something for someone's birthday, it will normally be jujitsu that gives.
Yeah,
And I'm quite happy with that, because it's meant to be a hobby, really. It's something
yeah,
you enjoy doing.
yeah,
I should be able to not fear about not being able to train for a day or two. And I've also got other things I enjoy as well. So I mean, I really, really love strength and conditioning training.
yeah,
Really enjoy that, and I kind of that one is definitely a mental health
Yeah.
thing. I call it my mental health training. So many times people have said, "Oh, I need to come with you and go to the gym to lift weights," and I'm thinking, no, I'm doing that completely on my own. I put my headphones on and I just kind of reset, and it just feels so good.
Yeah.
So then, yeah. So if I know I'm not going to go jiu-jitsu, or I'm not going to be able to go to a class, I'll like quickly sneak in a gym session, a weight session, or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah. I think some people outside of our lives might think that we're doing lots and lots of jiu-jitsu and that we might not do anything else. But actually, you're right in sharing that the reality is, if anything has to give, it'll be the jiu-jitsu training or the jiu-jitsu competition or whatever. But we still look like we're doing a lot of jiu-jitsu, which is, you know, the bonus. But you know, we can reassure you that it's jiu-jitsu that gets cut from our lives first, because the other things, being a parent, working, studying, all have to come before jiu-jitsu, because we're not full-time athletes. Yeah, Liz?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, would you like to be a full-time athlete at any point in your future, or would you have seen yourself as a full-time athlete in your younger years?
Maybe younger years. I was into sport in my younger years. I did a little bit of taekwondo. I did a little bit of boxing, striking, but I never really stuck to anything.
Yeah.
And I think it was because I was really career driven. I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I knew how to study. You know, like I said, I enjoy studying. I enjoy learning. And that took over everything, career. And then, you know, I was 20, 21, 22, and then I was married, and then I had a mortgage, and then I had kids. And then by age 26, I had like 3 kids. So life kind of, I chose a separate direction for my 20s. And I wouldn't change that. But going forward, I think I need to keep it as a hobby, and use it to help me grow in other areas of my life.
Yeah. I think that's very wise. You know, we could both get very excited about the possibility of being, you know, Masters X, whatever Masters level that, you know, is forthcoming for us. Obviously, you know, the numbers go up. You know, Masters athletes. It's like I don't want to even say, but you know, we sometimes we can have dreams, but okay, dreams that aren't ever gonna come to fruition. But I love the fact that you're saying, you know, the drive and ambition that we have for our own jiu-jitsu games, we can learn those techniques and mindsets and bring them back in to benefit other areas of our lives, which is the most important thing.
Absolutely. I've learned patience from jiu-jitsu. I've learned patience, which used to be like my biggest character flaw. I didn't have any patience when it came to things. So one time I wanted to get done now. If I wanted to achieve something, I wanted to get done in the quickest way possible. Whereas jiu-jitsu showed me sometimes timing is the most important thing. Timing, taking your time with things to get them done correctly. Otherwise, it's not gonna be done right.
Yeah, I agree.
This episode is sponsored by London Women's Open Mat. London Women's Open Mat run regular open mats in the London area for women of all ranks in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. They started back in 2011 to help the female BJJ community grow and thrive. There are 4 open mats each year at various gyms around London, with the aim of bringing incredible women together and helping to support grassroots charities and funding the women's jiu-jitsu community compete in London events. If you're a woman in this sport and have the desire to continue the incredible work of this community and learn from high-level female athletes, head over to London Women's Open Mat on Instagram and get your tickets by following the link in bio.
This is the Jiu-Jitsu Lou podcast with me, Lou Temlett, coming to you from the UK. Keep checking out the clips that drop as soon as I've recorded an episode, usually way before the episode officially drops, over on YouTube, Instagram and TikTok. Today, I'm having a conversation with Yeliz Akwei. Yeliz, I love everything that you're saying, and you attending camps, using the knowledge and experience that you learn in jiu-jitsu. I'm going to count me in that to bring back into our work life, our parenting life, just everything about the rest of our lives is benefited from training jiu-jitsu. But let's focus on the value of camps and open mats, which you also attend quite a lot of.
Yes, a lot. So I think the first camp I went to was a Sam K in the Lake District. I think it was a women's only camp that he run there, and it literally blew my mind. The amount of learning that got done there was phenomenal. And I thought to myself, wow, like if you can just, it's literally like doing an intensive course, isn't it? You know, like the driving courses, the 5-day courses, and then you take your test. It felt like it was really intensive, and I loved that, because then I'd come away and then I try and recall what I'd learned. I'd try and do what I'd learned. I'd try and watch more videos on what I'd learned, and then really kind of embed it. And that seemed to work for me, that intensive approach. So then there was so many more camps. There was Jenny in North Wales. I've been to a few of her camps, which are phenomenal, and she gets instructors from all over the place. Really, really great ones. And there's such a variation in what their main skill set is as well. And it's just, why would you not want to learn from as many people who have so many different styles as possible? I can't understand why anyone would not jump at the chance of that.
Yes.
So that's why
I haven't. That's good. I love it. I haven't attended. I think by the time this episode goes out, I will have attended my first camp. I can only manage one day because the responsibilities of the rest of my life, being a parent, working, and other parts, mean I get to do just one day. But that's the start. 2-day camps that are local are obviously another great thing to do, which is where we met at Moda Jiu-Jitsu camp, which was fantastic. And like you say, the intensity of the learning, being able to have open mat time and sparring and just working those techniques again and again is a great thing. Just having that time and space around that intense learning sounds like a great thing, as well as the networking and making friendships.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's quite a few friendships that have been made through camps, and it's fantastic because then we'll invite our new friends over to come and train at our place, and then they'll invite us to train at their place, and it's just been brilliant. It really, really has.
Yeah. Okay, so at the beginning of this episode, we started talking about cross-training. If we didn't, then that's my memory gone. But let's talk about that was the intro to the episode.
We did.
Oh my gosh. Okay, the value of cross-training. Why should everyone train at different gyms? Yeliz?
So when I first started cross-training, it was kind of not frowned upon, but it was kind of something that you shouldn't really do. That was kind of the feeling I got, is it's not really something you should really do. And I ended up joining a women's class at another gym. So I needed women to train with, especially for competing, compete with other females. Our bodies are completely different from males. So that was kind of my introduction to cross training was through a women's class. And from there, I really, really saw the benefits. You learn something at one place and you go and try it at the other place. And you learn something at that place, you can try it at the other place. And then, you're getting feedback and responses, from such a wider variety of people with different skill sets, and different gyms might specialize in different things depending on what the instructor's background is as well. So you're gaining more information and more knowledge that way as well. Having more females to train with and roll with is absolutely brilliant. I think there's a lot to be said for it. And what else was quite interesting is the other gym that I train at, that runs the women's classes especially, is that they have an eco style approach, the constraints led approach to training, which is quite different from my main gym where I train. So having to get my head around that and then see the value in that as well was really, really interesting, I have to say. And I think the two types of training really worked for me. And that's when I really started to see a difference in my jiu-jitsu as well.
Nice. I love hearing the benefits and the increase in your skill and ability. But have there been any challenges with cross training so far?
So far, no. I would say no. I mean, there is that feeling at the start, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? If you're going to be upset with me if I train elsewhere. But I think being very open and honest with your coach, and if you have a coach that isn't happy with you going elsewhere and seeing, what else there is, then maybe you should be a bit worried. I think your coach being happy for you to go elsewhere, train elsewhere, and benefit from it is only a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, the benefit, like you've already shared, is learning a technique that you might not have learned where your main kind of academy or school is, and then bringing that technique back. I mean, between you and I, Yeliz, that's where we can pull off some of the additional submissions that we might not have been able to before.
Exactly. That's when you catch them. Like,
we know the tricks. We know the tricks. We will get on to kind of women's open mats, but I want to. We kind of had a quick chat before the episode, and we were secretly disclosing that actually women in their 40s have an uncanny amount of strength and ability, Yeliz, don't they?
Yep. You asked me what's more challenging when I have to compete in the adults or Masters 1, Masters 2 division, or with women my own age. And I said, hands down, women my own age are much more tricky because of the strength. The strength that women in their 40s have is, talk about like old man strength, like old woman strength is also something else, honestly. So I think the younger ones, they have, the movement is a little bit faster, it's a bit pacier when you have a match with a younger female, but the older ones, they will pin you, they will crush you. It's brilliant.
Okay, now we're talking about this at the end of the episode because not many people get here, so we can safely disclose the fact that women in their 40s are on a mission. You have no idea, fellow opponents. We are strong. We are going to smash you, and we are going to submit you.
Yeah, we'll be trying with our hardest.
Yeah, trying. We are going to be trying our hardest. But often we don't know our own strength either, Yeliz, because I've had some feedback with, surprising, they were surprised that I was so strong. And I don't do strength and conditioning. I always joke that my strength and conditioning is carrying the heavy bags up and down millions of stairs every day. But there is something about it. We often don't know our own strength because we've built up the resilience and the mindset that contribute to our physical being over the last number of decades. And we just have to be there for our kids, for our families, for friends, for work, for all sorts of things. And I think it does build something quite different that women that don't train Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, they don't have the strength in the same way.
Yeah, that resilience and that strength is definitely a massive thing. It's mindset, isn't it? They talk about a fighter's mindset. It's not too different from a mother's mindset.
And you combine them both, you're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we diversified, but hopefully that was quite fun. Let's talk about the value of women's open mats, Yeliz.
Yes. So women's open mats, I discovered that there were women's open mats after competing for the first time, and I kind of felt a little bit out of my depth. I was so not used to training with females, and the difference between the female body and the male body is massive. So I needed more time with other women, and especially if I find women similar weight, or similar age, similar build, that would be ideal. Most of the time we're training with guys who are, substantially heavier than us, and they've got, these small necks and the big shoulders, and they're trying to look a triangle, and that is quite difficult compared to, say, a 68 kilo female. So that was my initial reasoning for seeking out female open mats, was to get that time with other females, and support kind of my reaction and my response in competition.
Good. I love that. And you are hosting the next London Women's Open Mat. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about it. So the London Women's Open Mats were massive for me. I tried to attend as many as I could. I've made friendships through the open mats. It really is such a great event, to go to. So when the opportunity came for someone to, take over going on with the organisation, I literally jumped at the chance. I might have been the first one to respond to, I'll do it. And now it's the excitement of, getting it going and finding the raffle prizes and, getting everyone kind of fired up again for them is kind of a challenge, I suppose, but it's also really, really exciting.
It will be incredible. Have you got a venue locked in? And obviously there's a date.
Yep. So Legacy Martial Arts, an academy in Hoxton, in Hackney. They asked to host there. They already host a women's class run by a stunt lady, Frank Katz. She does like a women's stunts performance class there. So they definitely wanted to get more involved in hosting and supporting women in the sport. So it's going to be there, and we're looking at the date. It's going to be the 11th of April, which is a Saturday. Traditionally, the open mats have been on a Sunday. A lot of women expressed that they were happy that it is on a Saturday, so hopefully it does accommodate more people than not. And in the afternoon, until 2:30. So anything that needs to be done earlier on in the day can be done, and then you can just relax in the afternoon, rolling around with other people.
Good. Relaxing in the afternoon, fighting each other on the jiu-jitsu mats sounds like fun, actually, Yeliz.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you. It will be a fantastic event. Please go and support Yeliz and the London Women's Open Mat at Legacy Jiu Jitsu on Saturday, the 11th of April. It will be amazing. And probably the first of very many, Yeliz, which will just be incredible. Just be incredible.
I really hope so.
The benefit of training with other women, especially before, big competitions like the British Open or various other competitions where we have matchups. And it's also an opportunity to maybe collaborate with some of those women that might be on the fence about competing in the first place, and encouraging them to come along and be competitors. But obviously we're not allowed to smash them at the open mats. We'll save that for competition.
Yeah, just flow at the open mats. Right?
Okay. That's why you need to flow roll at open mats, everyone. Please save the real fighting for the competitions.
Yes, please.
Or your own training classes.
Yeah.
It's so beneficial training with other women, and I think you've got your own story as well, Yeliz, with training with other women and being matched with them. Have you got any competitions coming up?
Not coming up. You know what? Because I have such nerves with comps. What I generally do is I keep my weight like 1 or 2 kilos above what I would fight at, and then when I get the itch, I'll look up what competitions are coming up in a week or two, and I just sign up for it then and there, and then I don't have any time to back out or to think about it or to worry about it. So it literally is, I know I'll compete. What's going on next week? Done. Okay, compete. Come back. Done. I've never that's exactly how I do it.
Nice. I like that. Yes, there's no time to think, no time to make any changes because you've
Yeah,
signed up in that moment. I think
yeah,
that for me is kind of carried me through. When I think about, signing up months in advance, I then get disappointed because there are no
yeah,
opponents. But to be able to see
yeah,
opponents in your bracket or division to be matched with is great. But equally,
yeah,
collaborating, I've had some successes collaborating with other women, not necessarily in my age division, but my weight division, to bring us all together
fantastic.
to compete and fill a bracket. So at least we get more
Brilliant.
competition mat time, which is always the most important thing.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah, Liz, we could chat for a long time, I feel. But let's save that for the next London Women's Open Mat. And actually, maybe there won't be a lot of chit chat. We'll just fight each other.
We can chat while fighting. That's always fun.
Love it. Okay, no, I don't normally have this fight energy, but when you find, we're not necessarily a fair match. I'm quite a bit heavier than you are, Liz, but the strength, your strength, kind of matches. So we're up for it. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on the show. Good luck with all of your future events, and look
you.
forward to seeing you very last minute on a competition mat very, very soon.
Yeah. Excellent. Sounds great. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. If you've got this far, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for telling your friends about this show. And as soon as this episode ends, I'd really appreciate you dropping the show a rating and a review. And as always, I'm inviting you all to go and like and subscribe on YouTube so that I can hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube in 2026. Anyway, thank you for subscribing. I'll catch you on the next episode of the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast.